So here we are with Armed Consumer onto the plumbing segment. We've got master builder Terry Sullivan with us again as my co-host and helping to point out some of the things that we need to look for when hiring a consumer. We've got Greg here. Greg, how long have you been a master plumber?
I've been in the industry 18 years.
Okay. And from a licensing perspective, can you help the consumer better understand what it is, how the licensing works in the plumbing world?
Well, to be eligible for a journeyman's license, you have to be an apprentice for 4 years, serving under a licensed master plumber. Then you're eligible to take the state test for a journeyman's license. Then you have to possess that for 2 years before you're eligible to test for a master's license.
Okay, and you've been a master plumber for how long?
About 10 years.
About 10 years, okay. Yeah. If you were to have a good friend or family member, I ask this on all the segments, what would be one of the things, and they were out of town and you couldn't do the work for them, what would be one of the things you'd be sure to say, hey, you better make sure?
Yeah. Main thing is, get some references. If, obviously I'd be the first reference for them, but, make sure that you're comfortable with them. When they come into your house, you don't feel threatened, you don't feel pushed into anything. They got a good persona about them, and you'd feel comfortable letting them into your house, even if you weren't there.
Okay. In the plumbing trade, I know like in the electric trade, for example, you could buy an outlet switch to plug an outlet in, to be able to plug something into an outlet switch. And they've got cheap ones, and then they got ones that are a little more expensive. In the plumbing world, is there any sort of similar thing like that? I mean, I would think, part of me thinks no, because it's copper and it's valves.
Right. Well, the main plumbing, there's two big differences right now. There's a PEX piping that's come out, which is a cross-linked polyethylene for your water distribution piping, and then there's old standby copper. It's more of I'm more of an old-time guy where I like to use copper. It looks nice and clean and straight. The PEX tubing, which is a flexible tubing, can sometimes look a little sloppy. It all depends, though. They're both warranty. They both say they're going to stand by in their products. So the difference is more a matter of preference.
Okay.
If you have acidic water or something, if you're on a well, you might tend to lean towards the cross-linked polyethylene because it's be more resistant to the acid. In a city water situation where you have city supplied water, you have fluorides and chlorides that are added. I feel that they might be detrimental to the plastic over time.
Okay. Okay. So I mean, it's at that point it's a roll of the dice because the plastic is a newer thing on the market. Where's it going to be 20 years from now?
Right.
What did you call that? The plastic?
It's called PEX. P-E-X.
They actually have this here in the Pinnacle Homes. I noticed they got the red and the blue. The red for the hot, the blue for the cold.
Sometimes it's just white. You can use white, to you do both. But yeah, sometimes they have it.
If you're going to run it across,
okay.
So this is one thing that's always been an issue to me from a plumbing perspective, and I've never understood it. I went to a pretty huge hardware chain the other day, and I looked at the pricing between a ball valve and a gate valve.
Right.
Okay, the gate valve being the thing that you see on the outside of your house, kind of thing, where you screw it in like that.
Right.
Well, when you go down in your basement, 95% of the basements, you can see all your plumbing running through, and most of them have the gate valves.
Right.
Some have the ball valves. There's a $1 difference between the two.
Right.
Why did the guys put the gate valves in?
Save that $1.
To save the $1.
Yeah.
But in the end, it costs the customer, so much more money down the road because I've seen the gate valves, they start dripping at some point. Right. Your house, do you put in a ball valve or gate valves?
Always a ball valve. That's all I ever use. Okay. I haven't used a gate valve in probably 4 or 5 years at least.
Even on the homes that you work on?
Even on the homes I work on.
Oh, that's cool.
It's just more dependable. Like you said, it's not that much difference. I mean, unfortunately, the consumer has to pay for the difference in the valve, but...
Yeah, but you're talking $2, $3, I mean, across the board. So
it just makes more sense. And
so again, I want to just reiterate that because it may seem like a trivial thing, but it's not because you've got two things going on. You got valves and you got copper piping, as far as like the basic run through the house of all the plumbing.
Right.
Of course, we got hot water heaters and all that stuff too, but the valves are a big deal because that's where a lot of times you end up with some leaks.
You have to have something that's dependable, that if you have a problem, you want to be able to shut it off and be confident that it's going to work.